All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Broadband Heroes. And today it is the Life on the Road, Road Warrior Edition. So this is going to be fun. I've got some true broadband road warriors with me today, and we're going to talk about their life and what's going on out there across the country. But before we get started, let's do some quick introductions. I'm going to start to the person on my right, which is Niki. So why don't you introduce yourself and we'll go around the horn.
Hi guys, Niki Carnahan here. I'm with VETRO Fiber Map. What more do I say? On the road a lot. Definitely, I'm at my home office right now, which feels very weird. But excited to be here and to share a little bit about what's been going on in our world.
Awesome. All right, Drew.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is. Great to see you guys. I get to work really closely with Nick. I run our business development at Bonfire. And I'm actually traveling right now, not so work related, more kind of family related. I'm up in beautiful Gig Harbor, Washington. So thought I'd be outside. It's too nice. It's not raining today, so
I know.
How to show the sun.
All right, last but certainly not least, Adam.
I'll match Drew's Truman Show intro. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world. Yeah, Adam Puckett, VP of Sales for COS Systems, and surprisingly, not on the road. You get to see the office today here in beautiful Front Range of the Rocky Mountains.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining today. Let's just start with the most obvious question. I mean, how many miles have you traveled so far this year? It's May.
I gotta think Nikki's in the lead. I mean, I would love to know. I gotta think Nikki's in the lead. She seems
All
like
right,
she's
let me pull up my Flighty app.
I love it.
How many
Flighty.
times I've circulated the world.
Really? That's like Strava for flyers?
It is. You just enter your code, like your flight code, and it tells you which aircrafts you've been on most, how many airports, like how many delays. I've lost 4 hours of delay due to delays.
How many laptops have you broken? How many lanyards have you had?
How many tablets have I left on the plane?
Yeah. Can you see it?
45,000 miles.
45,000 miles, but 1.8 times around the world.
Wow.
Love that. Yeah, I've been on 13 flights this year so far. So not
bad.
I don't know what that is mapping out with from a mileage, but yeah.
That's a pretty cool. All right. So what's the app? Just so the listeners can know.
It's called Flighty. So you spell it like flight and then a Y at the end of it.
Okay. All right. So for you have the other broadband road warriors, that's a good app to be checking it out. Adam, do you know, or you just off the top?
Look into it.
Yeah, no, I'm firmly in third place, but I was doing the math the other day. I think I was in like 6 cities in 11 weeks, but I'm about to come from behind because the next trip is to HQ in Umeå, Sweden, which is up by the Arctic Circle.
Attaboy.
And I fly from there to Nashville, I think I'm home for maybe a week or two, then Nashville. I'm actually not coming straight home from Nashville because we're going to spend a little time with my mother in the Fort Worth area. So I'm going to go Nashville to Umeå to Denver to Nashville to Fort Worth and back home. So I need to download the app to see how close I am.
Yeah, it's cool.
It takes a certain kind of person to travel, and you guys travel for broadband, obviously, trying to spread the word. So what is the wildest place you've been? Doesn't have to be this year, but the wildest place you've been and talked about broadband. Could be rural, could be international, could be. What's the craziest place you've been, most unique place you've been lately?
I will say I had a very different experience in San Antonio. San Antonio is the home of Lackland Air Force Base. So my impressions of San Antonio were suboptimal. But actually going to that show and walking the Riverwalk, I had to find a CVS at like 2 a.m. because I had a pounding headache, and you could basically use the Riverwalk to navigate like 80% of downtown. It's pretty, you don't actually have to get on any surface streets. So it was actually a very, very unique experience.
So yeah, headache 2 a.m. I can't imagine what you were doing when you were talking about broadband. So
you need to carry a little like travel pack of pills. I always have Dayquil, NyQuil, Tums, Tylenol, and Claritin with me.
You go.
I never know what's gonna happen.
You'd be surprised. There's usually enough drugs in my kit, and there weren't on that.
All right. So what's the craziest place, Niki, you've been lately?
So does it have to be work related?
No, it could be.
Okay. Because literally the craziest place is when we were in Romania. We went to a place called Teleginams, which is like 3 hours from the Ukrainian border. And the whole infrastructure looks like you've got cables falling from the side of the buildings, like sticking out of like a concrete building and cut off in random places with closures. You can basically reach and touch the closures. Very weird. So the power went out one day. And in that kind of environment, I kind of thought like, okay, power, it's not quite broadband, but infrastructure. Infrastructure is not super organized. So if the power goes out in the middle of the mountains in Romania, it's going to take forever for the power to come back on. It was back on in like 10 minutes. So everything was all like weirdly like patched together, but it worked. That is the most mind-boggling thing I've seen so far, I guess, in places I've been.
Power and chaos, not bad.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know so much on like the business circle travel. It's not as to the craziest places. I mean, we have customers in like super rural areas. But I like when we first started like on the construction side. I mean, back in like 16, we were in Mountain View, Missouri, like building calf sites, and that's like on the Missouri-Tennessee border, and I mean, beautiful green like country, but middle of nowhere, and people just kind of driving by sites like, what do you got? What are y'all doing? Like, what's so you got to kind of sit there and talk about it, and like that was. Honestly, I think that's where I first like started falling in love with all this, because it was like, dude, this is you're actually seeing on a day-to-day basis like how these people living out there are getting affected by this technology and affected by just like moving this dirt. Because all at the time, that's all I knew. I was like, I'm just supposed to dig this dirt to this depth and shove conduit in there. I'm like, that's what we're supposed to do. But it was such a larger thing than that. So
awesome. All right. Well, before we jump into talking about some of the things you guys have been doing and some events, what's the best road snack?
Dude, I'm now, because I'm a 1K guy on United, not to brag, and I get a free snack box and a free drink on every flight. So like they have 3 different of like little snack, and they have the Pappas one, which is, I mean, I had it twice. I had a connecting flight yesterday. I got it on both flights. Give me a double kind Coke Zero, and that's like my go-to.
And you put your pinky out when you get the Coke Zero.
Exactly, especially with the blue cup.
So Drew, I do the exact same thing, but I just take home the box, because I come home, my fiance's lonely, so I get him something from the trip, right? And I don't have time to buy stuff, so he often gets a takeoff box from United.
Yes, the takeoff is great. It's a good one.
So we have like our pantry is like, I have like 4 or 5 takeoff boxes that's just sitting there, and
I love that.
those things take up a lot of space.
They are. They're not small. Yeah, they're like, they take up the whole tray.
Inside is just very little, but no, he wants the box, so I bring him the box back.
So that's your snack of choice?
That is my snack of choice, and red wine once I'm up in the air.
But you had a post though? Niki, what do you have when you go through Denver? Don't you do something specifically when you go through DIA?
Yes. So there's a little Mexican place next to Voodoo Donuts at the B terminal at the Denver airport. They have these churros. That's like, these are pretty like nice sized churros with like Bavarian cream inside, and you can dip it in chocolate sauce. And the best part, it's like $3.75.
Wow.
So, I know. So that's definitely my go-to snack when I'm at the Denver airport.
All right, Adam, what about you? What is your go-to snack on the road?
Yeah, I was going to be snarky and say, look, I'm traveling on an expense account, so it's not going to be something divey. But usually, actually, for me, because I'm not 1K, I'm in the scum class in the back underneath the bathroom. I do hit up Starbucks in the Denver, the DIA terminals before I get on the plane. So and finding lean protein on the road, it's very easy to eat terribly on the road. So grab some egg bites, some sous vide egg bites, and a Starbucks just before boarding, and make my own private 1K club, Drew.
Attaboy. I love it.
All right, so now you got food, you're energized, you're ready to go, you're on the road, you get there, and you're at an event. Obviously, you guys in the world of broadband, there's a lot of events. There are local shows, there's dinners out, there's all kind of things that we're trying to talk about, the amazing work that all 3 of you guys companies do. When you hit the new city, how do you keep the energy high? Like, how do you keep the energy up to be able to then talk to these people at the shows, go out to client dinners? Like, how do you keep that energy going and being positive?
I think just talking to people helps energize me. if I'm on the road and not attending an event and just going to visit, like visiting people, that's super fun too. But in between, I get so exhausted. But if you're like constantly talking to someone, just like it's like a runner's high. So that's how I just keep the energy going. Then I come back home and then I'm on the couch for 2 days and then start over again.
I mean, Nikki, you made a great post, I thought, a couple of weeks ago about the illusion of what life on the road really is, right? And I think it's important. I wanted to talk about it here too. It's like I think there is this outside of Drew's humble brag about the 1K. I think there's this perception though that it is just glamorous, right? It's all glam. It's first class flights. It's great food. It's just wine. It's cocktails. It's chit-chatting with people. But behind the scenes, why don't you guys give me just some examples? I mean, yeah, even whatever the last trip or show you were on, like, what's some of the things that were tough? Like it can be draining.
Well, I think. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, following up on that previous point is like focus on the big three of get enough sleep. So if you got to take sleeping pills or whatever that is, make sure you get enough sleep. Watch what you eat because it is super easy to default into bad food everywhere when you're on the road. Just convenience, time, whatever it is, lack of transportation, all of that, and then getting some exercise. So if you're exhibiting, you're stuck in a booth, for example, wake up and exercise at the hotel or go for a walk or whatever it is. I think if you focus on the big three is the only way to like keep your energy up, keep your head on straight for that.
You're not encouraging people to take pills, just for the record here.
No, a sleep aid or
I'm kidding. Okay. All right, the big three. Anything else? Any other ideas before we get into the other more behind the scenes stuff?
No, I think.
Drew, how do you? I mean, you like it doesn't matter. You're up like I feel like at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You're just Mr. Chipper every time.
I'm an early morning guy, so I just that has always been annoyingly to like people close to me and the ones I love, but I've got a lot of gas early in the morning.
But you're an early morning guy, but I see you at the bar at the conference at like 2 a.m. every time.
Yeah, I think that's the best conversation, right? I mean, I think there's the ability to, I think you touched on it. You said it perfectly, Nikki. I mean, I think even when you're like, tired, you had some connection, and of course you were delayed, and so you gotta, kind of book it to your next one, and you just but if you start seeing people, and you were kind of excited to meet with them or excited to chat with them and start learning more about what they have going on, and they're learning more about what you have going on, and just I think that drives it. It's fun to kind of figure all this stuff out and see what's all going on.
Extroverts are so weird.
Funny that you mentioned that. I don't know about you guys, but if you were to go out by yourself, without your logos on, and you sit at a bar, would you go and start talking to random people around you? Because I wouldn't.
Not as much.
Yeah.
Not as much. Nick, are you saying you would, Nick?
Oh, I do. Yeah. If I travel and I'm at if I just happened actually just in Iowa, I was at the hotel bar, got in late, got some food, and just randomly started talking to people. I find people fascinating to begin with. So, and I didn't have any swag on, didn't have any badges, lanyards, or anything. But they just started talking to the bartender. I feel like you can get a sense for the city you're in, and just by listening, I typically my strategy is I listen for a good 30 minutes and just listen to the conversation, and then I decide whether I want to chime in or not. But yeah, it's always entertaining.
No, it's funny. Like on the show floor where there's a lot of people and a lot of noise and hectic, like that's not my element. Obviously I have to, it's part of the job. I lean into that. But yeah, like the random Uber drivers hearing immigrants living the American dream and their kids are going to American colleges. They came here with, $7 in their pocket, like those kind of conversations. You're in a city and the game is on. And so you're talking to the local sports fan and that's, perspectives and conversations that I think are really, really interesting. So it's funny that I'm totally an introvert, but getting that flavor of life, like you said, Nick, of I want to kind of taste the flavors of the local culture. That piece of it is I actually really do enjoy and seek out. Well,
I think also, maybe this obviously applies to the broadband pieces. I think when you're talking to some of these people locally, you do get a sense. Drew, you made the comment earlier about being in the rural areas and talking to people. I think even if you're at a bar or even if you're at getting a coffee early in the morning or working out in the gym, I think when you do talk to the local people, you do get a sense, and it gives you perspective then when you are at a trade show, when you're you're having a conversation with a client about how their life is, right? Like we live in cities. A lot of the people we deal with don't, right? So it's a good perspective, I think.
I think that's a lot of the fun of this industry is not just broadband, it's impact, right? And we talk about how broadband impacts families, communities, kids, elderly people. Like you talk about the use cases and the opportunities it unlocks and all that kind of stuff is it grounds what we do. And it's a funny way to think about it of broadband has this white collar component that's super high tech, and we're building stuff on the moon, literally in space, to communicate. But also there's men and women with muddy boots, like digging in the dirt to put fiber in the ground. Like most of the money for broadband goes to literally burying stuff in the dirt. And so yeah, I think that it keeps you grounded to those communities of like this is what we're here for. We're trying to make literally a program. Let's say these national programs, the scope and scale of BEAD, we're literally trying to make America a better place on a national scale. And it impacts down to the individual. How do your kids do their homework? How do they go to attend school virtually, or get telehealth appointments virtually, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm here for it.
For each of you, how do you, I think, Adam, you mentioned about, or Niki, breaking through the noise of an event. How do you actually break through the noise to get people to listen to you and talk to you? Like, I mean, I see the posts on LinkedIn. It's chaos at some of these shows. There's thousands of people. It's a lot of noise. How do you break through?
Well, Nick, one thing I'll say, and I think Adam and Niki both do a great job of this, is that there's a lot of stuff that happens kind of pre the conference, right? So it's not like you just showing up that day at the conference and like, okay, yeah, I saw an attendee list, or I saw some folks that were posting stuff, or, know X, Y, and Z are going to be there, and I'll run into them and let's have a conversation. There's like active kind of planning and reaching out and trying to set stuff up, whether that's a dinner or an event or a lunch meeting or a coffee or whatever type of situation where we can get some one-on-one time to just kind of talk through and learn more about what they're trying to figure out, what solution they're trying to come to if they have a problem, and trying to have those conversations. But then at the same time, right, like half of them, or it's just you walk by somebody, you meet somebody new, and kind of start just, I think it's that personality or being able to be personable and having those conversations of just kind of that bullshitting up front and talking and learning more about them and being curious and like, oh gosh, I think there might be a fit there. Oh, they're looking for an OSS BSS. I got a buddy named Adam that I need to make sure I hit up to see if he wants to chat with them. So there's just a lot of stuff you can kind of figure out. But there is, annoyingly, and I say that like lovingly, there is that work kind of pre on the lead up to it of like, let's make sure we're driving this so because it costs a lot of money, dude. That's the thing too. This stuff costs a lot of money. So like we gotta make sure we're just like our engineering group and our construction group, or like from a they're being stewards of their budget. We're having to do the same thing with ours. So
yeah, I think you're spot on. It's like there was a question about this earlier, but it's totally not just fun and games where you show up and you have a glass of wine in your hand and you start talking to people. It's very strategic, I'd say. And I think I attended about, 27 shows last year. And yeah, I don't know how it happened. But I attended a lot of shows, and I've kind of figured out my routine of like, okay, pre-show I do this, at the show I do this, when I'm at the show I make sure I have X, Y, and Z. After the show I do this, and I have my own little rhythm going. I think just sticking to that rhythm has worked well for me, so that's been most important.
Well, let me ask you about that then, Niki. So at what point, I think we've all traveled enough to know that there are curveballs happen. Right. So everybody, Adam had his 3 things. You've got your routine. Do you have an example of where you got thrown a curveball and it kind of threw a monkey wrench in your routine?
Like many.
Adam, you got any curveballs that have you been hit with lately?
Yeah, all of them. Leave stuff in random cities, get places and don't have transportation. I was recently trying to get out of Iowa, had like a planes, trains, and automobiles thing. I think Minneapolis airport had a runway shut down, and so the flight, my flight leaving Iowa would have arrived at my connection point after that plane had left, and so that wasn't going to work. And then when I left Iowa the next, I had to get a hotel room, get a shuttle, figure all that out, uncheck my luggage. Literally had to go like pull it out of the back of the airport, uncheck my luggage, put me in a hotel. The next day the flight was delayed. I had 15 minutes to get from one end of the airport to the other for my connecting flight. But yeah, as far as how you deal with it is just realize like that is part of life on the road. You got to zen out, be a little mindful of okay, I'm healthy, I'm indoors in a controlled environment, I have money, I got a family that loves me, like I'm not in any sort of mortal danger here. It's just inconvenience, and how do I make the most of my time on the road? You can maximize that delay. Can I get on my computer? Can I make some calls? Can I do something? You just got to kind of zen out and accept that as just part of life on the road.
Drew, what do you got? Any curveballs lately?
Yeah, in any travel, you just got to kind of embrace the suck. So whether it's really good and everything's on time or it's not really good. And like, I mean, and when we were in Philly earlier this year, when we had our first broadband mystery tour, and then we attended the FBA regional, we actually, obviously had some different partners and some different customers and potential customers there that we were interested in talking. I would say kind of the largest one, quote unquote, that we were really interested in, brought our CEO out to have a conversation, right? 2 days before wasn't able to end up making it there. So then, oh crap, got the big dog, out here on a flight. So the next day we had to drive across the state of Pennsylvania to go meet with them. So I get, you pivot and you go figure out what you need to do and go rent a car and change a flight, and just embrace the suck.
Yeah. So those listening and watching, it's not all glamour, guys. It is not all glamour. Just embrace the suck. When you're doing good work for broadband, you got to embrace the suck. Let's talk a little bit about, though, and this is more the Road Warrior Toolkit lightning round. All right, so I'm going to hit you with a couple questions real quick, and you just, bam, give me the answers. All right. Best hotel for the solid Wi-Fi.
Shout out Marriott.
I'm a
Marriott guy.
Yeah, I'm a Bond boy guy.
Hoorah. What?
Okay,
Really?
we got 2 Marriotts and a hater. What's your choice of hotel then? For
Marriott, of course.
Oh, Marriott. Oh, okay.
Marriott.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Wait, 3 for 3.
3 for 3. All right. Second lightning round here. What is in your travel bag that you cannot live without?
Cables and adapters.
It's phone charger. Yeah, chargers. Yeah, chargers. My watch, my watch is always dead. It's dead. I took it off, so I never remember my watch charger. But that's the one thing I always forget.
Everyone's saying chargers, but I do have a special little a door lock thing, so you can stick it at the bottom of the door in case someone tries to break in the middle of the night. Because I'm always paranoid traveling as a young female by myself, so I have a little safety net there.
Okay.
No,
all right.
yeah. Or you're in the meeting, right? Like you're in the room on a meeting and somebody's trying to bust in to do room service, and you're like, no, hold on. I said hold on.
Sure, I can use that too.
Keep them in the room. Third lightning round question. So you're on the plane. Your choices are either read like a Kindle or book, or watch a movie. Which one do you do?
Movie,
which is such a bad answer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't even own a Kindle.
Movie in the background. I got the laptop going, but movie on. Yeah.
Last question of the lightning round. How many, for those who, I think everybody has a significant other that's on this call here, how many days of advance notice do you tell your significant other before you're about to hit the road?
Oh, at least a week. I got to make arrangements. This is a multi-party deal.
He's got a basketball team. He's got to make sure he's got defense for at home.
Say 12 hours.
But we go with we have the shared Google Calendar. So I try to, right? If it's the specific conferences where we maybe haven't listed out, and I'm not good with getting stuff 4 months out and being like, oh yeah, I got everything booked, but I have it at least kind of marked. So I try to put those dates in, but then some days oh, hey, next week, by the way, I'm gonna be here. So
obviously we've talked a lot about the experience, some of the issues you guys have with traveling. You're taking one for the team. You're embracing the suck. What's coming up? What are some events that are coming up this year? Obviously, we're only in May. We have the whole year still. We've had some great events. Obviously, we had some events together from the Broadband Mystery Tour. We have some FBA events. What's coming up in the next, let's just call it 60 to 90 days that you guys are looking forward to being back on the road?
Well, of course, Fiber Connect.
The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Super Bowl. It's a huge conference.
Going to Nash Vegas, I know, right? Yeah.
Nash Vegas.
Yeah, it's Fiber Connect and then Mountain Connect. So we get to show off the best of Denver in August. I think it's August this year, right, Drew?
Yep, yeah, that first week of August, yes, sir.
Yep, which is cool. You get to talk about what's going on locally, sample the best restaurants, places downtown. At least I don't usually get to because I'm out in the exurbs, basically. So, but you get to talk up the hometown, pretend you're on the Chamber of Commerce for a couple of days.
Nice. Okay, so what's your what are you most looking forward to for Fiber Connect? Since that's the one, let's just hit that one since that's coming up in a couple weeks.
Karaoke. I mean,
Yes,
meeting with
Niki.
customers.
I changed my answer to karaoke.
Wow. Okay. All right. Adam?
No,
Yeah, I don't have a specific experience, but obviously, like, it's funny. We're all in the same industry. There's a lot of like overlap and parallels, and we're, some of us are more frenemies than, anything else. But it is literally the people that make the difference, and I look forward to seeing the people that I really, really like. And there are a lot of people that I really, really like. There are very few people in this industry that rub me the wrong way. This is literally people that have, as we talked about earlier in this conversation, eyes on the prize of making an impact and doing good work and work that impacts real people. And so it's filled with wonderful people.
and that's been the coolest part, I think, like seeing all these, because last year 5,000 plus people or whatever it was, and it's like, holy cow, like, thinking about being selfish and thinking about Bonfire, it's like, dude, there's so many other groups too that are doing, whether it's similar work or different variations of X, Y, and Z, and like there's so many different parts of this whole puzzle piece, and to see all these different groups and all these people like working their asses off to figure it all out it gets you all fired up. I mean, that's like gets you like all pumped up. So.
And it feels like a big reunion, right? You've got like 5,000 or 6,000 people from all the various different shows that you've seen in the past year, and then you can like circle back with them and connect again as like a touch base, a reunion every single year.
One last question, really. When you think about you're on the road and the difference between traveling for a show, which obviously is very different than traveling to go see clients or prospects. What's the mindset? Like, how do you guys change your framing of going out? Because obviously, when your point about Fiber Connect, like it is a bit of a reunion. The people. It's kind of comfortable, right? Everybody knows each other. Prospects, clients, a little different, right? So how do you approach your travel to the clients differently than these big shows?
If I'm going to a conference, from the moment I get to my local airport, I feel like I'm like on my game, because a lot of people are going to be flying out of like my Fiber Connect is going to be full of Fiber Connect people. So if I'm speaking with my mouth open, drooling, then they're going to notice. So I just on my game a little bit more. If I'm traveling for just one prospect or like a few customers in a certain area, the likelihood of me running into them on a plane is pretty slim. So maybe I will be a little bit less on my game, but it's just all the balance of that.
That's so true. I mean, Drew and I are part of the Denver telecom mafia. Since like everybody has a presence here, and so you cannot show up to DIA in your gray sweatpants and.
Yep. No, yeah, that's you're exactly right.
So for the clients versus the shows, you got to be. You can travel a little bit more comfortably to see clients, right? Because you're going to hit the hotel, you're going to change, you're going to do everything there. Versus you're going to bump into all your fellow Broadband Heroes out there, right?
Like especially when you're checking into the conference hotel, looking like a college student. That's what I always look like. And then the person right behind you is like the CEO of the prospect you're trying to like talk to. So being on your game a little bit
with your big VETRO logo on your backpack as he's just staring at it. And he's like, wait, am I meeting with that group tomorrow?
We have a meeting with him tomorrow, and I'm like in a hoodie, sweatpants, sneakers.
But either way, I'm trying to parlay, whether it's for the show or for a client, I'm trying to parlay those conversations into how do I get steaks and old fashions out of this engagement.
Yes, sir. Smart man. The travel for me at least doesn't seem too different, right? Like you might be coming in. I mean, you're still trying to make sure you're coming in on time and early enough that, so you're not late or missing anything. It might just be maybe what you're either presenting or kind of have in your sleeve for the discussion is maybe a little more targeted at that customer, and you have kind of your full, whether it's the pitch deck or whatever you kind of have put together as you're going to be going over it. The other stuff may be more generalized when you're going through it at the event for a larger scale audience.
Okay. All right. Now you did make me think about one more thing. So obviously embarrassing stories happen. Things happen when we're on the road. Obviously, Niki, we were joking about before we went live, there's your post about your face painting. What happened at that last event?
Yeah, so okay, we were at an after party, and there was a face painting stand. So a few girls and I were like, "Let's go get our face painted." We're in line, and the face painter is like working with someone else, and she's like, "Oh, there are some tattoos here that you can use right next to the face paint." So of course I put it on my face, and after I put two like flowers on my face, she's like, it doesn't come off of your face that easily, but don't worry, you look cute tomorrow." And I'm like, seriously, like I have meetings tomorrow. So at night I just like use rubbing alcohol, like hand sanitizer, and just put it on my face. But because it's so close to my eye was stinging. So the next day, my eye was still pretty red, but it was okay. Like I got it off, and
It was either going to face paint or now that they thought you just were hungover because your eyes were red.
but it was only one eye.
Okay.
Well, it looked like I had pink eye or
Pink
something.
eye, yeah, pink eye.
But it wasn't too bad. So I'm glad I got it off.
That's a good one. Adam, do you have any embarrassing stories that you want to disclose?
So embarrassment is something you feel, right? Other people can't, like, you can't feel embarrassment.
I've felt embarrassment for people before.
for sure. But the one that was sort of like awkward and a little bit funny, but to Drew's point about embracing the suck, is went to a conference, didn't have a great display set up, so we Ubered to Walmart and made sure we requested like a minivan or whatever, bought a television. It was Fiber Connect a couple of years ago, and just like hauled it out of the back of this minivan, put it on a bell cart at the front door of the Gaylord, and walked it literally like a 50-inch TV on a bell cart from one end of the Gaylord through the other in a giant cardboard box. So we looked a little silly, like we didn't have our proverbial poop together, but other than that,
happen.
Yeah, exactly. You do what you got to do on the road, right? You got to make it happen.
Mine is it's a solely me thing. I'm just very forgetful, like with not so much my wallet anymore, but like the keys, potentially tablets, headphones. So like I did like the Sunday, I forget what it was. I think it might have been going out to Philly. CSU they were in the NCAA tournament. They beat whoever in the round one, Memphis or whoever, and then played in round two is on that Sunday. And so like landed in Denver and was going to have a connecting flight to Philly. Was like going to the club because I wanted to pull up my tablet to watch basketball like between the flights. Got in the club, sat down, no tablet. And I was like, oh no. And like, well, like at least I got a layover, so I might as well start walking back, go back. They were like calling my name over the loudspeaker, Andrew Pappas, come. So I was like, I'm coming. So just forgetful. But I will say, and this is kind of rude, and I mean this, I love her to death. Ashley Poling, our friend that works at Gaia now, she was at C-Band with us a couple weeks ago when we were in Iowa. I got a call from her on the last day of the conference, and she was like, please tell me you're still in Iowa. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm still at the conference. She was like, I left my wallet at Red Lobster, and I need you to go pick it up and mail it to me. And I was like, Ashley, what the hell are you doing at Red Lobster? Stop going to Red Lobster. Stop it right now. And she was like, I had to meet a customer there. That's where he wanted to go.
All right. So the one thing, obviously, when it comes to travel, we've talked about a lot of things on the pod here, but let's end with food. So the best and the worst food, and you don't have to say the location because we're not going to dog any place we've been. We got to respect. But what's the best and the worst food you guys have had in your traveling recently?
Okay, there is a guac place on the Riverwalk in San Antonio called Boudreaux's or something like that. Their guac is so good. I had their guac for the first time about a year and a half ago, and then I have not stopped talking about it since a year and a half ago. And I went back to San Antonio twice this year. Both times I went to Boudreaux's. I should probably know how to say this name. Both times I went there like 2 or 3 times because their guac is so good. Worst food? I'm sorry, Denver folks, but sushi in Denver. I do not recommend.
Didn't we just say don't call out city?
Yeah. That's fair. There's 2 places we need to take you to, Niki. So the next time you're in town, we'll have to have a test run. We'll have another little test run.
Yeah, Denver has amazing. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but vegan sushi here is really good. They've got some vegan food.
Nick, you'll have to speak on that one. I do not know about that.
So, Drew, what about you? Best and worst?
Yeah, best. I love going down in New Orleans if there's any opportunity there, whether it's for a customer or any kind of conference, just because it's like hard to go wrong. There's so many places you can eat that also goes like wholeheartedly against Adam's suggestion of eating a little more healthy and trying to take care of your body while you're on the road, because it's the exact opposite of that. The worst is just like a really sad sandwich at the airport when it's like late and everything's closed. Like that's probably the worst, where it's just like, oh, like kind of wet, mushy bread a little bit, but it's like, oh,
The gas station sandwich kind of thing?
Yes, exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
last but not least, Adam.
Yeah, obviously the best is Denver.
Is that what you're saying?
Look, there are some Michelin star restaurants downtown. There's been some redevelopment. There are some incredible restaurants in Denver. Niki, we've got to get you squared away and redeem ourselves. I cannot have you tarnishing the good name of the Denver restaurant scene. But we'll fix it. The worst for me was flying out of Philly a few years ago, got food poisoning, shout out Philly airport food, and was in cold sweats and up and down. Like even when the seatbelt light was on, got like admonished by a flight attendant of like, you're up when the seatbelt light is on. And I'm like, you don't want to see what happens if you make me stay in my seat and don't let me use that bathroom. Unless like literally, unless you guys restrain me, I'm going in that bathroom, and probably more than once. So, and if you know anything about flying into Denver, there, of course, there was weather, so it was bumpy the whole way. I am trying for the life of me to not puke, and it's turbulence. It's bumpy coming into Denver, but there are also storms. So literally, like right after takeoff, I think we hit like the Ohio border, and the plane just shook for the next 2 hours while I tried not to give back the dinner I had in Philly on this crummy 737. So, yeah, literally sweating. That was nightmare fuel. I still obviously have some trauma to resolve from that experience. I will say though, the last time I flew through Philly, had a great experience. The Philly airport is fine. I don't know why there aren't automated sidewalks and you got to walk from one end of the city to the other to get to Starbucks. Are you kidding me? So still a terrible airport, but the food scene was just a one-off experience.
I had my first, because Josh Orlowitz, our strategy guy, he has like the Chase Sapphire card. So I got my first like Chase experience yesterday at the Philly airport. That blows United Club out of the water. I mean, I'm like, oh, bummer. I love I thought I was a big United Club. The Chase lounge is far, far superior.
We can have a whole other episode on just airports probably with you guys, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We'll save that for the next episode. But guys, thank you so much. Obviously, for some, the road is a chore. For you guys, obviously, it's a calling, and we thank you for that. And you are Broadband Heroes, channeling all the goodness across the country, and obviously for some, even across the globe, Adam, making those long journeys. So thanks so much for joining us. Obviously one handshake, one connection at a time. And for those of you who are going to be at Fiber Connect, these three will be there. So please reach out, and we'll put all your guys' contact details on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you watch your podcast. So thanks again, guys, and we will see you next time.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.